SNESdrunk. Hello, and thanks for taking the time to watch. Over the years, I've completed a lot of Super Nintendo games, and there's even more games that I never finished, either because they're stupidly hard, like 7th Saga or Zombies Ate My Neighbors, or stupidly broken, like Pit Fighter or The Rocketeer. But there exists a small category of games that were good enough to finish at one point, but I would never do it again. Now, there are plenty of tough games that I have completed and will continue to beat as the years fly by, like Contra 3 or Super Ghouls and Ghosts. And there's even some not-so-great games that I have yet to get to that I'll end up beating, albeit begrudgingly. The type of game I'm talking about, though, is one that you might have had as a kid, and you had nothing else to do other than get knocked off the bridge in Donut Plains 3 all afternoon in Super Mario Kart. This is the first game I think of when I think of stuff I've played a bunch over the years, and I've enjoyed Mario Kart plenty, but if you ask me to win a 150cc circuit, that's not gonna happen. I'd have to race each track like 20 times until I've got every turn memorized, and even then, it's just a matter of getting lucky. Ugh. Gah. There's still at least one good reason to play the original Super Mario Kart today, and that's the 2-player battle mode, which is still fun. And hey, there's plenty of ROM hacks out there that alter the game a bit, including this one here where you race as Street Fighter characters. Otherwise, Super Mario Kart is very much an acquired taste. The only other Mario Kart game that controls similarly to this one is Mario Kart Super Circuit for Game Boy Advance, and given the choice, I'd much rather play that game today. Gradius 3 is another one of those titles where I'm not entirely sure how I was able to beat this one. You've got giant bubbles strangling the Super Nintendo CPU to the point that it feels like the game is gonna crash. You got walls on fire, you got dragons coming after you, you got mutated plants getting their shots in, and you have this stupid level that'll use up every single life you have in a matter of seconds. Gah. The thing that really sucks about Gradius 3 is that when you die, you lose everything and start with nothing, and that's fine in a vacuum, or at least if the game boots you back to the start of the level, but if you hit a checkpoint and you have to start again here, for example, you're just better off starting over from the beginning, because your ship is woefully under-equipped for all the nonsense going on around you. Gradius 3 is a good game despite its flaws, but I can't ever see a situation where I'm going to be finishing this one again. There is a subcategory in this category of games I'll only finish once, and that's games I'll only finish once because I completely suck at them. And Pilotwings, come on down, you're the next game where I'm gonna crash, and crash again, and crash some more. Not even Crash Man from Mega Man 2 crashes this much. Again, I know I suck at this game, but I maintain that Pilotwings is stupidly difficult. I guess my brain just doesn't agree with whatever physics Pilotwings is trying to impose. I always find it jarring to go from having all the space in the world to move around to adjusting and readjusting and readjusting to a pixel-perfect landing spot. Ugh. No thanks. I'll play this one for fun once in a while, but not to finish it. There's also games I've only beaten with a second player. Shout out to my childhood friend Tom. Together we beat the Super Nintendo port of Lemmings, and he deserves most of the credit because again, like Pilotwings, you have to be absolutely friggin' pixel perfect with zero margin for error to get past some of these levels. Even if you're playing this any way you can and you're using a laser mouse, it is annoyingly finicky. 2-player mode at least gives me a fighting chance since I can just be put in charge of, I don't know, building a bridge to nowhere or something, instead of getting in the way and screwing something up, while player 2 can take care of everything else. That's the only way I can finish this one today, at least on Super Nintendo. Sticking with 2-player games, here's Mortal Kombat 2. This game was at its best when you were facing a second player. I mean, at least that way, you'd have enough time to learn each character's moves while giving your opponent some time, unless you wanted to be a jerk, of course. But all the Mortal Kombat games have that rigged rental artificial difficulty where you hit a major difficulty spike, and then you spend the next dozen fights losing and bashing your head against a wall. I've been pretty hard on Mortal Kombat over the years, but the second game is still great today. The lore and the characters are a lot of fun, but the single-player campaign mode sucks. Another game I totally suck at is Killer Instinct. It's a great game, and I appreciate that it's different from other fighting games without being overtly gimmicky. In fact, if anything, Killer Instinct went in the other direction, rewarding super precise inputs that allow you to stack moves, allowing you to do big-ass combos. Well, when I say you, I really do mean you watching this, because this game is tough as hell for me. Unlike Mortal Kombat 2, there's not that much of a difficulty spike when it comes to the single-player campaign. Instead, the game just expects you to be able to string together several different moves at the exact right time, in the exact right spot, and I could just never get the hang of it. Shout out to my friend Nate, as always, for helping me beat this one several years back, but I'm not doing that ever again. No offense, Nate. There's also games that might have better versions on other platforms, or in the case of Castlevania Dracula X on Super Nintendo, a game that's about 10 times better on the PC Engine CD where it's known as Rondo of Blood. No, not that Rondo, but you're much better off playing that version today over the SNES port. Still, if you're the completionist type, you're gonna have a devil of a time beating this one because it's old school Castlevania difficulty where the whip only goes in 2 directions. That should be plenty to take care of these Medusa heads, right? No, it never is. The game eventually builds to a final boss fight with Dracula, of course, and I freaking hate this fight. Ugh. Yeah, if I'm playing this one again, I'll play Rondo with Blood. Here's a game that never came over from Japan until Pico Interactive picked it up several years back. It's Iron Commando Kotetsu no Senshi, a beat-em-up made by French developer Arcade Zone. And on the surface, this looks like your basic Final Fight ripoff, but make no mistake, this is easily the hardest beat-em-up on the system. The enemies are aggressive and relentless, and they often come wielding a weapon. Sure, that gives you plenty of chances to steal them and use them yourself, but this is one of those games where if you don't have a weapon, you are screwed. And even then, just look at this crap. You get this spiked floor that rolls out and ruins your life in less than a split second. Come on, man. In addition to that, this game goes on forever. There's 8 long levels, and it takes over 2 hours to beat this one. That's way too long for a beat-em-up. This is the rare case of a good game where, even with the second player, I'll pass on ever finishing it again. The same could be said for a lot of JRPGs I've finished over the years, like for example, Tengai Makyou 0 is a really well-made game and it was only released in Japan, but it's playable in English with a patch. Just be careful with what you're getting yourself into though, because holy crap, this game is gigantic. It's one of the most impressive 16-bit games you'll ever play, for sure. The detail in the graphics is nuts, and the soundtrack totals up to over 4 hours. There's not even a single enemy palette swap in this entire game. But as is the case with a lot of games like this, every single person has a million things to say, and when you're not getting your ear talked off, you're busy wrestling with the crazy enemy encounter rate. So yeah, Tengai Makyou 0 is an incredible piece of work, but it's such a massive time suck that I don't think I'll ever finish it again. A couple weeks ago, I talked about Evo's Search for Eden as part of a video highlighting some random facts about games on the Super Nintendo, and in Evo, you can eventually evolve into special select forms like a mermaid or a dragon. The problem is, it takes forever to get there because this game is all about the grind. No, not that grind. But yeah, the idea behind this game is great, where you start out as just a regular-ass fish, and you gotta eat, and fight, and scratch, and claw your way through the game to earn experience points, at which point you get the choice of exactly how you want to evolve, something no other home console game offered. The problem is, that's pretty much all you do in this game is eat, and fight, and scratch, and claw, and if you're into that, then you'll really love this game, but for me, that's just too much Eric Nies. I mean, too much grinding to get through this one again. Finally, let's finish off here with an entire genre of games. Well, it's not really a genre, it's a specific developer, and I think you already know where I'm headed with this. I will never finish another Koei game on Super Nintendo ever again. Well, unless it's Uncharted Waters New Horizons. That game is amazing, and by far the best Koei game on the Super Nintendo. But everything else, no thanks. It was great to do a deep dive on all these games just to learn what they're all about, but yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that again anytime soon. I did not finish every Koei game, and I mean, holy crap, you'd have to pay me a lot of money to try and get through Operation Europe. But I did finish Liberty or Death, Rise of the Phoenix, Romance of the Three Kingdoms 4, Wall of Fire, just to name a few. And I remember while doing that, I was always playing something else 10 times more exciting. Like I'd put an hour into Wall of Fire, then I gotta go play Cuphead or Bloodstained, or at least a game where something actually moves on screen for once just to get my blood going. Again, big time respect to Koei for doing what they do, but I've paid my penance and I've done my time, and unless it's New Horizons, I'm never touching another one of those games again. Alright, that is all for now. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.